All right, thank you guys for joining us for our February support video. Um, we're going to be talking about pregnancy after loss. This is a huge topic, and we could talk about this for just hours and hours. So we're just going to start just some of the simple things that we can kind of get into, and then we're going to be revisiting this topic again in July, also with parenting after loss. So they're going to kind of be a two-part, but we're just going to touch on this today, start the conversation, start some support ideas, and then go from there. So first, we'll just start with introductions. My name is Rachael Delacroix. I'm on the board of Sheriff Lancaster. I've been so for, I think we're up to 2 years now. And I have two daughters that passed during pregnancy, Audrey and Colette, and I have a living son who is 6. Angie, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Angie Chelton. I am a reproductive and perinatal mental health therapist. I am also on the board of Sheriff Lancaster again for my second time round. I have two babies who I lost during pregnancy. My eldest child, Callan, was born at 8 weeks in 2004, and my son, Andrew, was born, stillborn in 2005. So I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you. And we have some really exciting news that we've been working really hard to try to make this happen. Before COVID, we were doing in-person support. We started just kind of doing them online, and they weren't working the way we had hoped. We weren't getting enough people feeling comfortable just sharing and being vulnerable in a space online. It just didn't feel enough of that support that they were looking for. So that's why Angie and I had started making these videos, just so that at least we can be supporting you some way during this time. But the goal was to get these in-person groups back in place. And we found a safe, wonderful location. We're going to be meeting at the Everest Public Library. The first in-person group is March 11th, which is a Saturday. We're going to be meeting from 10 to 11. We've done like kind of a save the date on Facebook, on the website. So go ahead and take a look. And then we're going to be adding a lot more details. We selected this location because we know that we want to kind of keep it neutral and a kind of an environment that feels comforting, not too triggering, just something that we feel like this is the perfect location. And we wanted to have a space where if you have kids, and that would be an issue with you being able to attend our in-person support groups, that we can spend time with them. We will have people there to kind of just hang out with them in the library. There's plenty to do there. It's only for an hour. You'll be close by. It's all just kind of seemed like the perfect spot. So we're going to do this monthly. We're going to have a topic every month. March, we're going to be kicking off the topic of holding space for your loss. And we're going to also, Angie and I'll still be doing these videos. So we'll be making a video, same topic the following week. We'll be meeting in person to just keep talking about it. So if you watch these videos and you just have all of these thoughts or questions, or you just want to keep talking about it, these in-person support groups would be perfect because we can just come together and keep talking about the specific topic of the month. Yeah, so I don't know, Angie, is there anything else you wanted to add about it, or does that cover it?
No, I'm really excited. We have a great team. We have a social worker that's going to be heading up the in-person support groups. And I'm really excited that we're going to be able to provide both video support and in-person support. So if you can't make the in-person group, you still have the videos that you can watch any time of the month, before or after. And it'll kind of be like a unified topic that we as a share community will be discussing that month.
Yeah. No, thank you for adding that. Yeah, I mean, the people, just even with you running, like just the combination of people that are there to offer the support, it's just something that we've never been able to do before. And we're just so honored that we have so many people wanting to be a part of this.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just get into the topic today. So first off, pregnancy after loss. Unless you've been through a loss, pregnancy after a loss is like nothing you could have imagined, right? So that blissful joy of just like no doubt that everything's going to work out, and you're already planning all this stuff. You're already getting the nursery ready and doing all these things. That blissfulness is just taken from you. So instead of the moment you find out you're pregnant, which that might be exactly what you want, you're just overwhelmed with this like fear of everything that could happen, because once you've been exposed to what is possible and you've lived through that, it's kind of impossible to kind of get through it any other way than just surviving the pregnancy, right?
Mm.
So we're hoping that maybe we can give you permission and ideas and tools to still have bliss and have those moments of joy. And still, yes, there is no stage of that pregnancy or after that baby is born that you are in the clear. We know that horrible reality because we've lived it, right? So we know that, yet we still deserve to have that bliss. We still deserve to have the joy and the celebration with the people that we love. So yeah, pregnancy after loss might not be a big announcement online. It might not be this huge party with all your friends and family, but it might be like two really close people who have kind of been through that loss with you, that you can share that with, and they can help celebrate as much as you are willing or able to. So Angie, are there I guess we kind of want to give them tools to be able to do this, because that fear is just overwhelming and drowning. Where do you pull the joy from when you really have no expectations of it going any other way than yet another loss?
Yeah. Yeah. So I I think that remembering that we are all individuals, and just like we all had different reactions to our loss, there were different things that we needed, different things that worked for us, different things um, that didn't work for us. The same thing is going to happen when we discover that we're expecting again. So different people will have different reactions, and there will be some people who have that um, feeling of I need to keep this to myself. I'm not ready for the expectations and feelings and emotions of other people around me. So I need to just kind of keep this to myself for now. There will be other people who will feel like, you know what? I didn't tell anybody with my previous pregnancy. And then when I experienced a loss, I had no support. There was nobody that knew about the pregnancy and knew that I was expecting. And so I didn't have anybody that I could reach out to. And so the important thing is to be aware of whatever it is that you need and whatever it is that you are feeling. And so, that's the first coping skill I would say for pregnancy after loss. And that is being aware of your own emotions and your own reactions to things. And really, it is okay for you to do what you need to do, not what anybody else is thinking or wanting or expecting, but what you need to do. So if you want to tell people the second you get that second line on the stick, do it, because that could be your way of garnering support of your community, of having the people around you that you need as you're going into this experience of pregnancy after loss. If you need to remain quiet because you need emotional quiet around you without the expectations of others, without the input of others, then keep it to yourself, because that's what you need. So I would say the first thing is just to be aware, what is it what are you feeling? Is there someone that a safe person that you can talk through this with and kind of make decisions, make decisions with about how you want to approach this situation?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And that there might be to continually check in with yourself, right? Because that day you find out, you might go into a state of silence. because you
Mm-hmm.
just don't know where to place what you're experiencing because
Yeah.
it's such a mixture of emotions.
Mm-hmm.
But like continually check in with yourself and say, you know what? I'm not ready to tell anybody, but today I'm going to go and I'm going to go to the store and I'm going to buy something for my baby,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I'm going to do something private with myself to
Yeah.
celebrate. Nobody needs to know, just
Mm-hmm.
between me, but I get to experience a little bit of joy today.
Yeah.
Um, and then tomorrow, I think I'm ready to tell that one person, and then like
Right.
continually checking in on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's okay that if you tell somebody and you're like, oh, I shouldn't have told them. Now I feel like I've jinxed it. I feel like I should have just kept it to myself. Like there's no wrong or right, or you just have
Mm-hmm.
to do with what each day feels right
Mm-hmm.
to you.
Yeah.
And tomorrow you might feel like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. But well, what feels right today?
Mm-hmm.
And then do what's
Yeah.
right for today, right? Because it's
Yeah.
you're gonna just be evolving with these emotions and these stages and these
Mm-hmm.
just these waves. So when you
Yeah.
hit different points, yeah, just
Mm-hmm.
always be checking in on what is best for you.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. Yeah.
but like know that you won't jinx anything. You won't do things in
Mm-hmm.
the wrong timing. You're going to do it in the right because you're going to check in with your gut and you're going to know that that's what's best for you. And that will
Mm-hmm.
always be the right thing. Like,
Yeah.
just know that that is the right thing that you need to do. Just trust yourself, not what
Mm-hmm.
everybody else is doing around you. Just go in and
Mm-hmm.
check with what you feel
Yeah.
is right at that time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that you brought up two things that is really important. And the first is communication, right?
Mhm.
So once you've checked in with yourself and you know what it is that you're feeling like you need today, and that could change tomorrow,
Mhm.
but if you are including other people in this pregnancy by sharing the news, by, however you're including them, a really good idea is to try and be clear with them about what it is that you need. So, for example, if you want to let somebody know, but you are not ready for like ecstatic, over the top responses and excitement and squeals and everything else, because that feels like it might be too much,
Mhm.
really saying, I want to let you know, but I want to keep this low
Yeah.
key. I
Yeah.
don't want to do over the top celebrations right now. The best way you can support me is, and being like
Yeah.
really clear.
That's
And I
beautiful.
actually advocate for people to communicate through text or email so
Mhm.
that you can be completely clear and are able to say what you need to say
Mhm.
without being interrupted or having other people's expectations like kind of put on that.
Mhm.
And kind of think about like who is in your circle. Who are people that you know who you are pretty confident are going to respect like your needs and your boundaries at that time? Those are
Yeah.
probably the people that it's wise to seek support from, during those, early months during those times when you're feeling especially vulnerable. People who already um, know how to be respectful and how to regulate their own responses
Mhm.
are
Mhm.
probably going to be the best kind of people for you to reach out to.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you don't have anybody like that in your private circle, consider attending a support group, consider attending therapy, because having someone that you can talk to who is going to really respond to your, level
Mhm. Mhm.
and what you have going on emotionally can be really, really helpful through a pregnancy after loss.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, the second thing that you brought up that I think is super important is this idea of milestone celebrations. So, a lot of people who experience a pregnancy after loss, they do find it to be a mixed experience. There are, you continue to grieve the baby that you've lost. That baby will not be replaced by the new baby. It won't happen.
Mhm.
Your older baby will always be a baby that you lost, and you'll
Mhm.
continue to feel that grief through any um, future pregnancies. You also have, like you had mentioned earlier, the secondary loss of being pregnant while knowing that pregnancy does not automatically equal a baby or a child to parent.
Yeah.
And a lot of people express a feeling of loss, that they don't get to have an innocent pregnancy, that they
Yeah.
don't get to have just that mindless belief that everything's going to be okay and everything's going to work out. And I'm pregnant, that means I'm having a baby. People who have experienced a loss know the reality that that's not necessarily going to happen for them. But we're faced then with asking ourselves, well, how do we go through this pregnancy in a way that is positive, that is gentle, that, makes room for both the grief and the hope. And one of the things, like you had mentioned about when you're ready, going out and buying a little gift for the
Mm,
baby, I consider these milestone celebrations,
mm,
right?
mm,
So we think about the idea of mindfulness. We think about the idea of remaining in the moment and being present with what currently is, not allowing ourselves to focus on what could be, what might be, what the future holds, what if, what if, what if. Instead, we might think to ourselves, right now, my baby is okay.
mhm.
Right now, I am okay.
Yeah.
And in this moment, I'm going to sit here with the reality of my baby that we are both okay.
Mm.
And a lot of times, a pregnancy after loss can feel like a million of those in the moment, mindful moments.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so like today, I'm okay. My baby's okay. Today, I want to do something to celebrate this pregnancy, and I'm going to go buy a onesie. I'm
Yeah.
going to spend time online thinking about a nursery.
Mhm,
I'm going to do something today that celebrates what is, and I'm
mhm,
not going to worry about what could be.
mhm,
And so that's like one coping skill
mm,
that's really important for people who find themselves challenged during a pregnancy after loss,
I
remaining in
love
the
that.
moment.
And I feel like you almost have to make that your mantra. Like
Mhm.
every day you wake up and you say, today I am okay. Today my baby is okay. And
Mhm.
if it gets to the point where something isn't okay, then it's, I'm not okay, but my plan is to do this.
Mhm.
Or my baby is not okay, but here's our plan. And
Mhm.
focusing on the acknowledgement, and all we know is just that next step, right? Of
Mhm.
what we're going to do with what we know. And if I'm okay and baby's okay, then today I celebrate a new milestone,
Mhm.
right? Like
Yeah.
almost every way. I had this little plaque
Mhm.
with my pregnancies that just said, just keep swimming
Mhm.
from Nemo. But
Mhm.
in my mind, it was like, just keep surviving, just keep surviving.
Mhm.
Like you have to just keep going. Like
Mhm.
we're going to get through this. And we still have it up because it's just that reminder that like, you keep going. Like we're
Yeah.
still here. Everything's
Mhm.
okay. We've made it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it almost has to be a mantra. Like that's, what information do I know?
Mhm.
And how will I respond to that information today? Right? Like just
Mhm.
beginning your day with that
Right.
presence in the moment. Because you know what? The more you get involved in the lost community, it's almost like all the ignorance you had before and that bliss,
Mhm.
you didn't even know there were so many different ways that things could go wrong. And now you're
Mhm.
like scared to death because you know that there are even more ways, right? So like
Mhm.
to even go down that path is impossible. Like how can
Mhm.
you even keep a sanity through any of it? Because there are so
Right.
many things. But today, what do you know? And
Mhm.
how are you going to respond? And
Yeah.
if we're both okay, then you respond with
Mhm.
a celebration, right?
Right. Yeah. Some
Or
sort of small
right?
celebration. Yeah.
Something. Yeah.
Even if it's
Yeah.
that moment where you just take a minute at the end of your day or at some point of your day and you think, we're okay.
Yeah.
We're okay together. And we're
Yeah.
here together right now. And
Mhm.
you just take that moment and you do some deep breathing and you just are sitting and acknowledging that right now we are both okay. And like that's really how any kind of long, grueling task gets accomplished, right?
Right.
It's just step by step. And there are
Yeah.
people who really liken a pregnancy after loss to something like climbing Everest. Like
Yeah.
there's this long distant point far away and in the future that we know we're heading toward. But really, all we can do is look at the one step that is right in front of us right here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if we just focus on that one step and focus on that one step and focus on that next step, like we eventually get to where we want to be.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. And Lang just, I think it was I was reading Will Smith's book, and he was talking about how his dad and his brother, I guess they were building each brick one at a time to help work out with his shop to fix what he needed to
Mm-hmm.
do. And it took him like all summer.
Mm-hmm.
But he just said, like, when you look at it and you realize how much work you have to do or how long that pregnancy is going to be, all those
Mm-hmm.
months, all those things that could go wrong, it's impossible to look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But like looking at laying one brick at a
Mm-hmm.
time, and that's
Yeah.
all you have to just keep doing. And the rest will take care of itself. It will become
Yeah.
something. You'll get through the time, you'll get through the stages,
Yeah.
you get all the answers, you'll see the outcome,
Yeah.
you'll get there, but you have to do it just one day at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And you really can't do any of it. You can't do it any other way because
Right.
it's, you're crippled by it. It's
Mm-hmm.
just so scary. And
Yeah.
it seems so impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And, um, yeah, but having somebody in your corner to kind of like remind you of that today, like, hey, let's check in. Where are we? We're
Yeah.
okay. You know, I'm here for you. Can we do anything to make you more okay? Where
Yeah.
can we give you more support to make the days
Mm-hmm.
harder? Because yeah, it is. And I think there's like a whole nother layer that we don't talk about, but other people's pregnancy after your loss. That's
Yeah.
like a whole nother, something that we'll have to talk about again because I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I to this day, I can't even anybody's pregnant, I'm like, all right, I gotta stay away from you for the next 9 months because I know too much. Like I
Mm-hmm.
can't even imagine that you don't even know what could be happening right now.
Yeah.
Like the anxiety just it spreads
Mm-hmm.
everywhere. It's such a
Mm-hmm.
tainted world once you realize all
Mm-hmm.
the things that could go wrong instead
Yeah.
of the bliss of all that you assume will go right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So that staying in the moment is a
yeah,
great, reaching out for your right support network,
yeah,
that's a great coping skill. Staying in the moment is a great
yeah,
coping skill, and celebrating each moment as it
yes,
comes is a great coping
yes.
skill. And then another coping skill that I would recommend is this idea of intentional bonding.
Mm,
So there are times when, because of the anxiety that we feel, we are so overwhelmed with that emotion of feeling like this is so much that there are times when our connection to our baby becomes interrupted.
mm,
And this is a wanted pregnancy. This is a baby that we want to have. And we remember that the baby who has passed away and the baby that we lost, like there's all sorts of things that we didn't get to do with them.
yeah.
So, one of the things that I recommend is this idea of intentional bonding. And that is when you are ready and you know that, like, you want this pregnancy, you are looking forward to having this baby, to actually take time in each of the 3 trimesters
Mm,
to do things that are intentional, that you do specifically for your baby and with your baby. So we can do things even from the very earliest moments of being pregnant. So you don't have to wait to parent your child until after the baby arrives.
mm,
When you are pregnant, you are a parent and you are already making decisions for the well being and out of love for that child. We do things like, not eating deli meat and,
mhm.
maybe adjusting medications and, not drinking alcohol. Like, so we already start making some decisions for the well being of our child from the very
Yeah.
earliest time. So, in a pregnancy after loss, you can do that even more intentionally with the idea that I'm going to purposefully love my baby every day.
Mm,
Every day.
I love that.
I want to make room for this child,
Mhm.
even acknowledging that I don't know what the outcome ultimately will be.
Mhm.
We have hope.
Mhm.
We know that 75% of pregnancies do work out,
Mhm.
so we, have hope that things will be well. And in this moment, in this trimester, I'm going to do what I can to bond with this baby
Mhm.
and to parent this baby and to connect with this baby.
Mhm.
And this is for a couple of reasons that I think that this is a great idea. The first is because it increases your bond with this new baby in spite of a previous loss. So it's you, acknowledging that grief can happen, that grief has happened, but you're taking positive steps to be really connected to this pregnancy right now. It allows you to begin that bonding process from those earliest moments. And secondly, what if something does happen? What if the pregnancy does not end the way that you hope? If you have all of these memories, all of these experiences that you had already included like your child in, then you have memories with that baby that will sustain you through any negative thing that happens in the future.
Mhm.
So, what kinds of things can a parent do in the different trimesters in order to be intentionally bonding with their baby? So, in the first trimester, you think about the baby's environment, right? So, the parent's body is the baby's environment. So, eating well, deciding to nourish yourself and to take your vitamins because you want to provide the best environment for your child. Gentle exercising, um, doing things like um, making whatever lifestyle changes need to happen in order for your body to be the most healthy environment for your child that you can give them. So thinking about like reducing stress, taking time to rest, getting good sleep, nourishing foods, hydrating well, gentle exercises with your physician's, approval. These kinds of things are the first kind of thing that you can do to be nourishing your baby and nourishing that relationship. When we get to the second trimester, that's when things kind of get fun. I think of that as the taste and hear trimester because your baby actually develops taste buds. And the things that you eat in that trimester actually kind of trickle down to the amniotic fluid, and your baby can taste the foods that you eat. So this is a great time for you and your partner, if you have one, to be going and trying new foods, try new spices. Say we're taking the baby out to dinner to try something new, you know, and spend time that way. And this is when your baby can actually begin to hear too, is in the second trimester. So this is when you and your partner can start reading books to the baby. You can start listening to music, and you can think to yourself, oh, I want to share this song with the baby. And so you can turn it up so that your baby can hear it. Um, so beginning to include the baby in that way. Third trimester, incredibly fun because at this point, your baby is stretching and pushing against your body and you can push back. So you have a little elbow that pops out and you can push back and push back on that little elbow while continuing to do the things from the previous two trimesters. But anytime that you are responding to your baby gets to know that, like they recognize that they push here and they get a pushback. And that is like a very, very early um, form of acknowledgement that actually can begin to form your baby's sense of self, that there's other and there's self. So these are like really amazing ways throughout pregnancy to begin that process of bonding with your baby. And each one of these can be one of those milestones, one of
Mhm.
those milestone moments. Today we're okay and we are, eating some Indian food together.
Mhm.
And I'm sharing this moment with my baby. And
Mhm.
so that can be a small celebration.
Mhm.
Today we're okay and I'm cranking up some Bon Jovi and
Mhm.
sharing it with the baby,
Mhm.
and that's, a moment with your child.
And I think the part that I love best about everything you talked about is they're so intimate,
Hmm.
right? I think we get so fixated on making things so public
Mm-hmm.
and making things so available, right? You
Mm-hmm.
forget that like all of that is so intimate. That can just be you and your baby, and you can do every single one of those things just
Yeah.
between the two of you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's so beautiful because there's
Mhm.
no, if you don't feel ready to tell anybody the whole
Mhm.
entire time you're pregnant, that's okay.
Mhm.
But you still can have all these ways to continue
Mhm.
that bond. And
Yeah.
if it's like that first trimester going out and buying a special candle or a special
Mhm.
mug that every morning you sit with and you light or you drink your tea and you connect with your baby. Those
Mhm.
are things you have that are tangible. And we've talked
Mhm.
about that before, that you kind of take with you through. And that's like your special
Mhm.
thing. And then
Yeah.
it will always be your special thing with them, no
Yeah.
matter how things turn out.
Yeah.
It'll always be something that you did and you started
Mhm.
a very intimate bond with your baby that's specific to them and your relationship with them and
Mhm.
can continue for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So that intimacy with your child, we overlook it so much because it's become such a public,
Mhm.
external type of thing that,
Yeah.
yeah, I love that all those ideas are intimate
Mhm.
and they can be
And
done with
yeah.
people or without,
Yeah. Yeah.
however you
Absolutely.
want.
But you make such a great point, is that for most of us, there will come a moment when you can't hide your
Yes,
pregnancy.
yes. Unless you're on
And
Zoom
yeah,
forever.
right, right.
Yeah.
But like, we are social beings. We exist
Yeah.
within a social context. And so probably at some point we are going to have to be thinking about and dealing with other people's reactions to our pregnancy.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's like, how do we deal with that? Like
Ugh.
when we're facing this pregnancy and we are doing this Everest climb of like
Yeah.
step after step.
Mhm.
And, I think it goes back to what, we had talked about earlier, which is know yourself
Mhm.
and what you feel comfortable with. And don't be afraid to communicate that to people.
Yeah.
So people that you know and you feel comfortable that, yeah, I can tell them this is what I need. Be sure
Yes.
to do that because those are
Mhm.
probably going to be the people who are most in
Mhm.
your like inner circle, right?
Mhm.
And then we have people that are like acquaintances. So these are maybe like coworkers that we maybe can't be as forthright with, or maybe we don't want to be as forthright with. So then we have to kind of think about, okay, what is my elevator speech going to be? How am I going to respond when a stranger comes up and wants to rub my belly and
Mhm.
ask me about my pregnancy? Because,
Mhm.
somehow we think that, pregnant people's bodies are public domain.
Yeah.
So what is our elevator speech going to be? Um, and it could be just a couple of sentences that you use with a little polite, tight smile that kind of tells
Mhm.
people that here's my boundary, you
Mhm.
know.
Mhm.
So something like a coworker, you don't really want to talk about your pregnancy with this coworker. They come up and they're, "Oh, how are you feeling?" "I'm feeling great, thanks." "How are you?" I
Yeah.
love the turnaround,
Yeah.
right? The
Redirect. Yeah.
turnaround, chef's kiss. It's like a
Yeah.
great way to take the focus off of you
Yeah.
and to put it back on the other person. People love talking
Yeah.
about themselves.
Yeah.
So, you give that quick, "I'm doing great. And how are you?
Yeah.
How is da 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 da
Yes.
da," like
Yes.
whatever it is. Or did you hear about la 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 la?
Yeah.
So you're moving the focus away from yourself, away from the pregnancy, and onto a more neutral topic.
Yes.
And if you do that, you can do that every time possibly if somebody doesn't pick up on the signals that you're not really going to go into
Yeah.
this with them.
Yeah.
But the more that you can do that, the more that other people will mostly get the hint that this is not a topic we talk about,
Mhm.
or you'll just get better at like
Mhm.
redirecting the conversation toward
Yeah.
things that are more neutral.
Yeah.
So, having those elevator speeches, having those neutral topics, right now saying, "Hey, how about those Eagles?"
Mhm.
Great way to turn the conversation around.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so you can find those conversation turners,
Yeah.
and use
Yeah.
those as a coping skill in social situations.
Yeah. And my favorite is always just, it's complicated. Like
Hmm.
a lot of times, no matter what you need to talk to somebody about, when they want to know and they kind of dig in, you just say, hey, you know what? It's really complicated. It's not as easy as you might think.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just something personal or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
kind of just let them know like there's a lot to it more than
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready to talk about or
Yeah.
want
Yeah.
to share. Like,
100%. Mm-hmm.
people don't like complicated. So sometimes
Mm-hmm.
they'll
Yeah.
politely leave you be and let you know,
Yeah.
like, okay, there's a lot I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't push
Mm-hmm.
so hard.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so yeah, this topic is like so many layers, but we just hope that today you kind of, if you're at this place or you're in the process of trying to conceive after loss, that maybe there are just things that kind of set the tone for you and set new intentions and new ways to cope, that you can start early on. And if you know anybody going through that, maybe this helps you be able to support them and say, hey, I can be that person to you. I will ask zero questions. I will just be available when you need me, however you need me. And I'm just
Mm-hmm.
going to ask you to tell me what you need. And
Yeah.
maybe helping to be that to somebody who knows like, okay, they went through that too. So they understand where I'm at
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to be that person. I already identify that
Mm-hmm.
that's my person. If I get to the point where I get into a pregnancy after loss, I know
Mm-hmm.
who I can call that minute, who can support me,
Yeah.
or just figuring out those intimate moments between you and baby, or you and a therapist who's completely separate from
Mm-hmm.
any kind of reaction you would get from anybody else. So
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like there's plenty of ways to get through it and you will survive it regardless of what it looks like, whatever the outcome is, whatever each day is, you will survive it.
Mm-hmm.
And you've already been through the hardest experience of loss. So you know how strong you are and you know that you are deserving of love and support. And please, please seek it, because you are so deserving to have that in your life. You shouldn't
Mm-hmm.
have to suffer through all of that fear and anxiety alone
Mm-hmm.
if you choose not
Absolutely.
to. So, well, thank you guys so much. And we look forward to hopefully some of you seeing you in person next month on the 11th of March at the Ephrata Public Library. So just stay tuned on our website and Facebook for more details. But thank you so much for tuning in today.